Hey guys, I'm Ty with Muscle Wiki. This is our good friend Amber, and we're going to be taking you through the barbell hip thrust today. So I'm going to give you some things to know, some tips and tricks to get the most out of this exercise. A lot of the work gets done before you even start your set, before you start your first reps. A lot of the work gets done during the setup on a hip thrust. So let's go through that first. First, you can use either a box or a bench. You want the box or bench in between knee and hip height, kind of depending on your bone ratios and lengths. But you want essentially a straight line from your shoulder to your knee when you're in the extended position. So what you can do is just get in front of a mirror, perform a body weight hip thrust. If it's too high, find something lower. Too low, find something a little higher. Okay? Next thing will be the bar pad. So this will protect your hips from the bar digging into your pelvis or your hip bones. It's very painful, especially when you get a good amount of weight on the bar. So you definitely want to use one of these, and you always want to have it pointing upward. If it's pointing down, when you press your hips into the pad, it's going to come off. So always make sure it's pointing upward, and also always make sure it is even on the bar. You can use the markings on the bar. Amber's using her fingers just to measure, make sure it's even. Okay? And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and pull the bar over your hips. With the plates on the bar, it's gonna be high enough for you to just roll it into position. Take your stance, and we want a shoulder width stance and the toes facing forward. We don't want the toes to face outward. And with your hands, you can do any of a number of things. You can go double overhand grip. Some people like to hold the bar pad itself. Some people like a mixed grip, whatever feels more comfortable, totally fine, just so long as the bar is secure, and also so long as the bar does not roll. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. Okay, now we're all set up and we're ready to start the set. So we're gonna perform 10 reps here. You're gonna drop your hips straight down and then hips up toward the ceiling. The most important part of a hip thrust is that last few inches of the range of motion. That's where the tension is at its highest. The hip thrust puts the tension on the glutes in their extended position, and no other exercise really does that as well as the hip thrust does. So you want to make sure you focus on that end of the range of motion. Spend an extra half a count up there, squeeze your glutes really hard before coming back down. Oh, that's great. Squeeze, good, okay? And then once you're done with your set, you're just gonna drop straight down, let the plates rest on the floor, legs go out, and then from there you can just roll the bar off of you and you're all done. Thank you guys for listening as always, and we will catch you with the next one. Take care.
Okay, so we have some do nots here. You've got a too wide of a stance, and then this next clip is a too narrow stance. You want to be in the middle between these two things. You want your feet about hip width apart. So if you want to find out what hip width is, just stand upright, jump up and down, and usually the position that you land in is going to be right at hip width. Here we have externally rotated hips and the toes pointing outward. This is usually just an easy fix. So long as you're conscious of it, you point those toes forward, you're good. On the left, we've got the bar in a too high of a position, and on the right, bar is too low. It's also pretty common. You want the bar directly over your pelvis. And this is something people do to cheat. They'll roll the bar from their hips further down the legs, and that'll allow you to use more weight, but it's not necessarily all about the weight. We want to move as much weight as we can with the proper form. And speaking of going too heavy, too short a range of motion here. And here we have some great reps that I wanted to take you through finally. There's one slight issue with these. Feet are a little too far out. You see that diagonal line from the side of her shins? You want that line to be straight up and down. If the feet are too far out, a lot of the tension is going to end up on the hamstrings. If they're too close, a lot of the tension ends up on the quads, and you don't want either. Right in the middle. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys as always for listening, and we'll catch you next time with the next one. Be safe.